Hey ladies, now it's time to talk about your wedding party. So let's talk about all the attendants, maybe including the bridesmaids, the groomsmen, the maid of honor, the best man, flower girls, all of it, you name it. So let's start out with some questions that I would love for you to answer yourself, as well as for you to ask your fiance. So number one, what size would we like our ideal wedding party to be? Do we want it small? Do we want it medium? Do you want it large? So are you thinking you have one or two friends standing next to you during your wedding? Or do you have like 9 people that you are thinking of? So number 2, who do you consider as your best friends? This is something to consider because you don't have to ask every friend of yours to be in your wedding. Who do you consider your best friends? Number 3, who would we choose as our maid of honor and our best man? That's like the closest friend you have. Number 4, do we have siblings we want included in our wedding party? Is the groom okay with having the bride's brother stand on his side? Is the bride okay having the groom's sister stand on her side? These are all questions you need to talk out. So for example, my brother stood on James's side during our wedding. My sister was my maid of honor, and then James has 3 sisters, so they were 3 additional bridesmaids for me, in addition to all of my other friends. So I had 9 bridesmaids, and James had 9 groomsmen. We had a very large wedding party. But it was important for me to include his sisters because that's what he wanted as well. And so we just made it work, and I loved having them in my wedding party. I hadn't ever seen a wedding party with 9 before, but I was like, why not? I can be the first. I don't want to exclude anyone. So you can do whatever you want. It's your wedding. Just make sure you include all your special people so no one gets their feelings hurt. All right. Is it important to us to have an equal number of attendants on each side? So like for me, I knew I was going to have 9 because James's 3 sisters, my sister, and then my other friends. So I asked him, do you want 9 on your side? Do you have 9 people? And we ended up each having 9, so it was great. So is it important for you to have an equal number of people on each side? I have been in a wedding before where there were more bridesmaids than groomsmen. And so what happened was one groomsman would link arms with 2 bridesmaids. So that worked really well. All right. Some questions that you can ask yourself and your fiance can ask himself to determine if these people are special enough to you to be an attendant in your wedding party. Will you still be close with each of these people in 10 years? Do you still see yourself being friends with them, confiding in them, making memories together in 10 years? Then that's a good sign that they should be in your wedding party. Do they support our marriage? That's important for your wedding party to support your marriage. If they don't, then maybe they shouldn't be a bridesmaid or a groomsman. Would it devastate your friendship if you don't ask them to be in your wedding? Would it cause hurt feelings? This can be a deciding factor to ask someone to be a bridesmaid or a groomsman. Mostly bridesmaid though, because girls can get a little bit more bent out of shape on something like this and can cause real hurt feelings if they don't get asked to be a bridesmaid for you and they expected to be. Does our approximate budget for bouquets, boutonnieres, and gifts for bridesmaids, groomsmen, ushers realistically match the size of your wedding party? So for example, because we had 9 bridesmaids and 9 groomsmen plus ushers, we had to buy a lot of wedding gifts. If you only have 2 bridesmaids and 2 groomsmen, then you don't have to buy as many wedding gifts. So I make that point because does your budget allow to buy all these extra flowers and gifts for all these additional attendants? So what do you expect of your wedding party during this process of wedding planning and on the day of the wedding itself? Do you expect them to plan and pay for the bridal shower, to attend or plan or pay for the bachelorette party? Do you expect them to travel across the states to another destination for your bachelorette party? Same for the groomsmen. Does your fiance expect them to attend or plan or pay for the bachelor party? Do you expect your bridesmaids to pay for a bridesmaid's dress or pay the groomsmen to pay for a suit or tux rental? Same with the ushers. Do you expect your bridesmaids to pay for their wedding hair done and nails and shoes and accessories and travel expenses? Do you see my point with how expensive weddings can end up being for a bridesmaid or for a groomsman? It adds up. I mean, you think about all the appointments they're paying for, like hair, makeup, or nails, plus their bridesmaid's dress or their suit and tux. Plus, they're maybe paying for the bridal shower to be put on and the bachelorette party to be put on. They're taking off work for all of these events or traveling to get to these events, plus taking off work to get to your wedding, buying you gifts for all of these events. It gets expensive. So just be aware that when you're asking people to maybe make them have less pressure and say it's okay if you say no, especially if you know that they're financially strapped at this season in their life. Additionally, do the people we're considering have time and funds to devote to this responsibility, like I just mentioned? Are they so busy, or do they already have something scheduled on the weekend of your wedding where they couldn't even make it to the wedding? That way they would have to say no to being in your wedding. Are you going to ask each person in person, or how are you going to ask them to be in your wedding? I've seen even mailings sent to a bridesmaid, like a little gift box saying, "Will you be my bridesmaid?" Or a handwritten card or a gift that says, "Will you be my bridesmaid?" Google, Pinterest, there are so many ideas on how to ask people to be in your wedding party. But yes, FaceTime. I FaceTimed all of my bridesmaids because they lived across the country. So it doesn't have to be fancy or formal. Who do you have in mind for ushers? So ushers are close friends or relatives that maybe aren't close enough to the groom in order to be a groomsman in the wedding, but still have a good bond, a good friendship with the groom or with the bride, that they have an honor of being an usher, which is another duty, responsibility for the wedding. They also rent the same matching tux or suit, so they will have an expense there as well. Are you going to ask anyone to be your personal attendant? This person will help run little errands during the day, like get the bride some water or help button up her dress or whatever is needed during the day. So there are a lot of questions there for you to talk amongst yourselves with your fiance. Definitely, I wanted to mention asking people to be in your wedding, because that has become something very popular lately, with something funny or creative or sentimental. But the most important thing is to convey how much your relationship with them means to you and why it would mean so much to have them standing next to you on your big day. That's the main point of asking them to be in your wedding, to make them feel special and help them realize that it's an honor and they mean a lot to you, because out of all the people in your life, you chose them to be a bridesmaid or a groomsman. So additionally, I have seen guys stand on the bride's side before. If you have like a best friend that's a guy, I've seen that before. Or maybe you want your brother to stand on your side and the groom wants his sister to stand on his side. Like, you can do whatever you want. It's your wedding. Let's see. So make sure you ask your wedding party ahead of time, like way far in advance before the wedding, because they will have a lot of expenses and planning to do. So ask them as soon as you know who you want your wedding party to be. Of course, you want them to save the date on their calendar. They can know the wedding date way before you mail out the save the dates, because these are the people you want standing next to you on your wedding day. You don't want them to have other plans already. All right. You don't have to have ring bearers or flower girls. I just want you to know that that is not essential, but you can. And sometimes you can have multiple. So for example, if you have family members that you do not want to hurt feelings and pick one and not pick another, that could cause some issues. So maybe just have multiple flower girls. So for example, we had 2 young nieces, or James had 2 young nieces. Now they're my nieces, but they were both young and we wouldn't just pick one and exclude the other. So we had 2 flower girls and that was really fun. So you can include more if needed just to prevent family drama. So of course, like I've already mentioned, think about the expense per attendant, including gifts, bouquets, boutonnieres. Asking someone to participate in your wedding is asking the person to dedicate a significant amount of time and money to you and your wedding and events, basically into celebrating you. So just be aware that, and have grace and be understanding if someone declines, because maybe they've been in a wedding before and they know how much money they spent and they just know that they don't have the extra money right now. So just be aware. We are going to continue on and discuss duties of the wedding party. That way you have a better, clearer understanding what a bridesmaid actually is in charge of doing. Same with the groomsman, the best man, and the maid of honor. So let's continue on. So what does the bridesmaid do? What does the maid of honor do? What does the groomsman do? What does the best man do? Let's talk about all that. So first of all, I will just reference the ushers. Their real only duty is to seat guests as they are arriving for the wedding ceremony. So sometimes the ushers will link arms with the lady of the party that's arriving. So if there's a husband and wife arriving, the usher will link elbows, link arms with the woman and lead them to a spot wherever they're supposed to sit this guest. Sometimes everyone on one side of the church is all the groom's side and all the groom's friends. Sometimes the other side is all the bride's family and friends. So if that's how you're wanting to do it, you can have your ushers ask, are you here on the groom's side or the bride's side? And then they can seat them accordingly. But lots of times they can just seat them wherever. So continuing on, bridesmaids, they support the bride when asked to do anything, and that's really fun. They're just helpful. They're the bride's right-hand girls, so they obviously stand by the bride's side during the wedding, and they attend any pre-wedding events when possible, so the bridal shower or the bachelorette party. They also help plan and financially contribute to the bridal shower. So they will plan the games, they will plan any party favors, and they will plan the food for the bridal shower. Same thing with the bachelorette party. They will help plan it, they will pay for it. The bride does not pay really for anything regarding bridal shower or bachelorette party unless they really, really want to. But normally the bridesmaids and the maid of honor will pitch in and cover everything regarding those 2 events. So they will also purchase a bridesmaid dress and accessories for the wedding. And those are really the duties of the bridesmaid, and just to help the bride throughout the whole wedding process with anything she's needing help with. Maybe it's to help create centerpieces. Maybe it's showing up the day before the wedding to help decorate the wedding reception venue, little things like that. Moving on to the groomsmen, so they help and support the groom however they can. They stand by the groom's side during the wedding. They help plan the bachelor party and financially contribute to the bachelor party. The groom isn't really supposed to have to pay much, or anything for the bachelor party. So the groomsmen plan it and pay for it for him. And then they are also in charge of renting a tux or suit for the wedding. So that's normally on them to go get fitted for it and to pay for it. And the ushers also rent or buy this matching tux and suit. So now for the best man, he is really the one in charge of planning the groom's bachelor party. So he'll make all the arrangements, and then the rest of the groomsmen will pitch in and pay for it. Now the best man also is a witness for the marriage license, so he has to sign the marriage license as well. The best man gives a speech and a toast at the reception. He also will hold the bride's ring during the wedding ceremony. That way the groom can turn to the best man, grab the bride's ring during the exchange of the rings. So obviously he's supposed to help and support the groom when asked. He'll also rent that tux and suit for the wedding, and he also will help with the dollar dance if you guys decide to do a dollar dance at the reception. So he'll hold the bucket during the dance and collect all the money, and then tap on the guest's shoulders to let them know that their time is up. So the maid of honor can also be a matron of honor if she's married. So that's the name change there, matron of honor. So she will also be in charge of the dollar dance for the bride if you guys decide to have a dollar dance. So she'll hold the bucket that collects the money and tap the guest on the shoulder when their time is up with the bride. So the maid of honor is the main lady planning the bridal shower and planning the bachelorette party. The other bridesmaids or family members absolutely can pitch in to help plan and to help pay, but the maid of honor definitely is in charge of all of that. But she doesn't have to have all of the stress on her. That's why she can incorporate and get all the help from the bridesmaids that she needs, because that can be very expensive to pay for all of that. The maid of honor will sign the marriage license as a witness as well, and she will give a speech or a toast at the reception. She will also carry the groom's ring during the ceremony. That way the bride can turn back, grab the groom's ring during the exchange of the rings. The maid of honor is also in charge of fixing the bride's train during the ceremony. So when she's walking up the aisle and heading up to the altar, if her train is all messed up, the maid of honor is supposed to be the one that goes down and fixes the train. That way it looks good in all the pictures. The maid of honor also holds the bride's bouquet at the altar. So once the bride gets up to the altar, she'll turn to the maid of honor and hand her her bridal bouquet. And then once the bride and groom, the newly married couple, are ready to exit down out of the venue, the maid of honor will hand the bride back her bridal bouquet. So the maid of honor helps and supports the bride however she can, and she of course does all the other bridesmaids' duties. But the maid of honor is truly like such a help to the bride, and then really just calms her nerves down as well, gives her a pep talk, all of that fun stuff. The maid of honor is also normally in charge of helping the bride to remember to reapply lipstick and powder her face. That way if she's dancing hard throughout the wedding reception, she doesn't look super shiny and oily from the sweat. She needs to be photo ready at all times. And the maid of honor also helps remind the bride to eat throughout the wedding weekend, because the bride has a lot going through her brain that she's trying to remember, and the maid of honor just can ask, hey, have you eaten yet? Or bring the bride a smoothie, or bring her a granola bar or something like that. There is something called junior bridesmaids as well. That's just another title for someone very young that's considered one of your bridesmaids, but maybe might be a preteen or early teenager. So you can list them in the wedding program as a junior bridesmaid. But other than that, you can ask ring bearers and flower girls as well. and their duties are very self-explanatory: either throw out the petals or to carry the ring up to the altar. But that is the general overview for the duties of the wedding party, and I hope that helps clarify and gives you just a better understanding of what exactly you're asking all of your friends to be doing for your wedding. So you might not have known that you're asking them to literally pay for your bridal shower and your bachelorette party. That's why it's so important that you are asking people that you have a close friendship with, that they would be absolutely honored and willing to pay all of this money to celebrate you. So anyway, these are the details regarding the wedding party. Feel free to continue on.